I cannot stress enough how important dieting is to getting a good physique, right? A lot of guys, when they first get in, they just think about working out. That was me, by the way. I just thought about working out. I was like, you know what? Screw dieting. I don't care. I don't even, why would I want to diet? Like, that's what people that aren't in the gym do. I just want to work out. I just want to get really good at working out, work out really hard, and then I will get super jacked. The truth is that dieting is about 50% of it, working out is about 50% of it, and dieting is going to control how quickly you can achieve your results in the gym. So this is going to be a video on how to diet for people that want to get a good physique in the gym. There are 5 main points that we are going to cover in today's video. Number 1 is you need to diet for your goals. Know what your goal is, right? Now, for most of us, our goal is we want to build muscle mass and lose fat, but ordinarily it's going to just be one focus for any given period of time, right? That's the cut and the bulk, or a maintenance. You're going to go into a calorie surplus above your maintenance if you are trying to gain muscle mass, gain weight. And you are going to be in a cut if you're trying to lose fat. Most bodybuilders, like professional bodybuilders, fluctuate between the two. So they spend time bulking so that they gain muscle mass very easily, and they also kind of gain some fat. And so after they finish a bulk, they immediately go on a cut to kind of cut off that fat. But the deficit, the calorie deficit, isn't so much that they lose any muscle, right? So over a period of time, their physique just gets better and better and better as they cycle through bulking and cutting. A good thing to do if you're trying to diet for your goals is to download some sort of professional diet tracker app. For example, I use MyFitnessPal. When I create my account and I put in all my information, my current weight, my goals, how often I exercise, it calculates for me what my caloric maintenance is, what calorie surplus I should be in, what calorie deficit I should be in. It makes it just like super easy to diet for my goals. Now, a lot of guys, if they're somewhat overweight, are going to be insecure, and they see a bunch of like really fit, lean guys on the internet, and so they're going to want to be like, okay, my goal is to lose fat, like lose weight. But honestly, for most guys, even guys that are somewhat overweight, they shouldn't do that. And the reason is because if you are losing weight, if you are in a cut, it's very difficult for you to build up muscle mass. What I would do is I would bite the bullet. I would go on a lean bulk instead, spend a lot of time in the gym, and then after they, have gained a ton of muscle mass, then they cut down. Because if you cut down and then you try to bulk up again, just to get lean, and then you try to bulk up again, imagine how much time that kind of costs for you to do, when ultimately you're going to be bulking in the future anyways. Now, obviously you need to use your own discernment here. If you're like extremely overweight, then it's probably not a good idea for you to go on a bulk of any kind, and you might need to cut down a little bit until you see your abs before going on a bulk, right? But for most people, I would suggest going on a lean bulk. Number 2, and this is very important, is to track everything. I used to be one of those kind of guys that found the idea of tracking to be really inconvenient. I didn't want to sit down after every meal and track every little thing that went into my body. But honestly, I wasn't gaining weight. I wasn't eating enough. I thought I was eating enough, right? But I wasn't getting any results. I wasn't getting close to my goal weight. And I still refused to track rigorously because I was just stubborn and I didn't want to. I was like, oh, that's too inconvenient. I don't need to do that. It actually took some humility for me to go, you know what? I'm just not the kind of guy that can not track and just kind of feel it out, eat more, and then gain weight. I had to be like, all right, no, I am the guy that needs to track everything, and that's okay. So I had to have some humility and really just focus on tracking pretty much everything that went into my body. Again, a diet tracker app is really good for this. And even though it seems inconvenient right now, after you get into the habit of inputting all of your food after you eat a meal, it just gets super automatic and easy. You should also track every single metric you possibly can when you have a dieting goal. For some people, dieting will come easy, it'll come naturally, but for a lot of people, dieting is actually very difficult. It's actually much harder than working out because the gym is just a one-time thing. You do it once every single day, and then when you're out of the gym, you forget about it. Dieting is all of the time. It is before the gym, it's after the gym, it's all of the time, right? There's no break from it. It's not just one session a day. And so dieting is extremely difficult, and anything you can do to help you along with that is going to be good for you. When you track everything, you know exactly how much you weigh, you know exactly what you're eating, you know how you should modify it. Here's an example, right? When I started tracking my weight every single morning when I first got out of bed, and I didn't drink any water, I didn't put any clothes on, right? And I just went to the scale and I weighed myself. I had an accurate reading of what I weighed every single day, and I could see that on the graph. If I weighed less that morning than I did the previous morning, I kind of got like this negative feeling, but that was sort of like motivation for me to hit my goals even better, right? I was like, all right, I really need to focus on my eating today. And when I actually did weigh more, when I was in a bulk, and I was like, you know, I got kind of happy from that, I got even more motivated for me to eat some more, because I'm like, all right, I'm on a roll, I need to keep this up. Just something as simple as tracking your weight every morning, even though tracking doesn't physically it doesn't change whether or not you hit your dieting goals directly. Indirectly, it plays a huge part on your mindset, right? Just like how present the goal is in your mind every single day. Similarly, when you track all of your food, when you track everything that goes into your body, you don't have to guess anymore whether or not you're eating enough or you're eating little enough so that you lose weight. You don't have to guess anymore. You know for certain. And maybe if you're on a bulk, there's a version where you don't track anything and you feel like you're stuffed. You feel like you can't eat anymore and you're like, I'm for sure gonna gain weight, but you're not, and you wonder why. But the version of you that does track everything sees that even though it's difficult to eat that much, you're actually not eating that many calories. Like, you're just eating around maintenance or maybe even a little bit lower. You'd be surprised like how easy it is for us to overestimate the calories that we eat. Or here's another example. Maybe you work out every single day and exercise, like a good resistance training session burns 500 to 600 calories every single day, right? If you don't track that, you could be eating like a decent amount, but you don't realize that 600 calories is being cut out of that, is being carved out of that, because you're working out every single day, right? And so you could be like, oh, well, why am I not gaining weight? It's because you're not actually in a calorie surplus. You just think you are. This is why it's so important to track everything, and very important to track your macros as well, although we'll get into that in a second. By the way, if you are serious about getting an aesthetic physique and you are willing to invest in yourself, the top link in the description is my full program. That is basically all of my years and years of lifter knowledge put into a single course. It's very detailed, it's very value packed. It's more than I could put in a single YouTube video, and I share a lot of stuff there that I don't talk about on here, and it'll really just help you to achieve your goals. I would appreciate if you would just pause the video right now, go click the link, and then just watch the attached video to see if it's for you, because if it is for you and you don't check it out, then you are missing out. And if it just doesn't seem like it's the right time for you, like you can't afford it or whatever, I completely understand. I'm always going to keep making videos on this YouTube channel for free, so you can just close that tab and come straight back to this video. Thank you. Number 3 is, during any sort of bulk or any sort of cut, you need to do it lean. A lot of people love to do they love to talk about like this dirty bulk. Oh, I'm just gonna dirty bulk, right? I'm just gonna eat like shit, and then I'm going to be able to fit in a ton, and then I'm gonna gain a bunch of weight, and it's gonna be really good for me. The problem is, we didn't evolve, or we're not designed to eat that kind of food. It's hardly even food, really. It's processed garbage. And I'm not gonna be like strict about this, like 100% strict. You can have a little bit, but you need to be mostly following the Stone Age diet. We were designed to eat natural foods that come from nature. The Stone Age diet is less about specific foods as it is about a principle, and that is, you need to eat whole foods that are sourced as close to nature as humanly possible. Some examples are fish, poultry like chicken, eggs, red meat like ground beef or venison, carb sources like white or brown rice, beans, right? Nuts and legumes. Like, you know, vegetables, very natural sort of meals that your mom would make for dinner, right? You need to be eating that. And you might think that that's actually, well, that seems like less convenient. Dirty bulking seems like way more convenient. It'll be super easy for me. And because I'm a hard gainer myself personally, I understand the temptation to dirty bulk. I get it. You think that's the answer to your problems. I tried dirty bulking and I tried clean bulking, and I'm gonna tell you straight away, clean bulking, lean bulking, the Stone Age diet is normally more convenient for a couple of reasons. First of all, if you're eating like a Big Mac, do you know how many calories are in a Big Mac? Can you control the macros? Can you control exactly how much protein they put on the Big Mac, on the McDonald's? No, you can't. Can you control how many fries they put in the box? No, you can't. Can you control exactly how many proteins, carbs, and fats they put on your Subway sandwich? No, you can't. All you can do is order these set items off the menu and kind of hope. Now, maybe if you get really good at it, you can kind of get really good at picking stuff off the menu and like customizing it to fit your needs, right? And if you can, that's good, you wanna do that. But honestly, what I found was when I just made my own whole food meals, I just cooked stuff in a pan or a pot or something like that. Dude, I could portion everything so easily. I could include just as much chicken or ground beef as I needed to get enough protein for that meal. I could include just enough rice or beans to get enough carbs for that meal, right? Same thing with fats. It was so easy to manipulate what I ate in order to get the macronutrients and get all the calories that I needed. If I wanted to get, I don't know, 1,400 calories for one meal at some fast food place, first of all, I would have to figure out how many calories every single item had, which I don't know if I could do. And then I would also have to like portion out like, okay, but how much of this is protein? How much of this is carbs? When I have whole foods and I just cook my whole food meals, it's super easy and convenient. Cooking honestly isn't that hard either. It takes a little bit more time, sure, but not a lot of time, not as much time as you might think. So it's like 15 minutes to 20 minutes for me to cook any single meal. And if you're busy, if you have work and you can't afford to, just be at home all the time, you can meal prep. Also, you can make your food extremely delicious. Like the Stone Age diet is just one of like the best tasting diets I've ever followed. It'll also be really good for your energy and your hormones, right? So you might think that the dirty bulking, like just eating a bunch of donuts and cookies and shit, would be better for you to gain muscle mass. But when you're eating the Stone Age diet, you're getting in just like a ton of protein, very natural foods. Your hormones like testosterone and growth hormone are just like way better. Your energy's way better. So you can hit that lift, you can hit that PR that you otherwise couldn't have. Number 4 is to lock down your macros. We've talked a little bit about macros so far in this video, but I really need to explain like how important it is. This is a quick story time. There was a point in time where I really wanted to gain weight. That's been basically the story of my lifting life. But I was eating a lot of food and I was tracking everything to my credit. But I wasn't paying attention to macros. I was having these big smoothies with a ton of protein in it, right? I was eating these big meals and I could not figure out for the life of me why I was actually losing weight during that time. I was like, that got me in like such a bad mental state. I felt like hopeless. I was literally getting like depressed because I couldn't gain weight. And I was thinking about this one day on the squat rack because I was like doing leg day. And I just kind of like, I was frustrated. And for whatever reason, I decided to just sit down, open up my diet tracking app, open up MyFitnessPal, and check the macros tab, which tracks like all the macros for all the food items that I input. And what I found was, even though I was in a massive calorie surplus, I was blowing past my protein goal for macronutrients, but I was hardly ever getting even just 50% of my carbohydrate goal. That was when I realized, okay, this must be the problem. I need to include a little bit less protein on my plate and a little bit more carbs. And when I did that, when I changed my diet to lock down my macros, I started gaining weight again. Again, with a diet tracking app, this is just super easy. The biggest thing about dieting is just like how convenient can you make it, because the number one obstacle is it's gonna be kind of inconvenient to diet. And if you can overcome that, then I mean, that's just gonna make it so much easier. But Yeah, a diet tracking app, when you log your food, not only does it keep track of your calories, but also your macronutrients. You basically just want to make sure there's no deficiencies, right? The recommended portions, the recommended percentages for all your macros are, it's going to be something like 50% of your calories coming from carbs, 30% from protein, and 20% from fats. And point number 5, this is extremely important for dieting, is you need to be consistent. I found that dieting oftentimes works kind of like a consistency streak in some sort of video game, or like, like a Snapchat streak where you send photos to each other, and then the more consistent that is, the higher the number becomes, right? Dieting is kind of the same way. The more consistent you are, the more success that you're going to achieve from dieting. Dieting works based off of momentum, right? So for example, when I go on a bulk, it's normally only a few days after I'm in a consistent surplus that I actually see the number on the scale go up, right? And once it starts going up, it starts very slow, like a few, a tenth of a pound every single morning, and then it slowly ramps up the more consistent that I have been. But if I were to break that consistency, maybe I just take one day where I don't hit my calorie goal, then guess what? Consistency is broken, the momentum stops, and I stop gaining weight. If you keep your consistency streak for dieting high, that is how you will make the most progress. Even if you have kind of a shit diet, even if you don't follow the Stone Age diet perfectly, right? Even if you don't do everything else here to perfection, if you're consistent, then you will succeed. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you learned something from this video. If you enjoy this kind of content, this kind of educational aesthetic physique content, that's basically all I make. So it's a win-win for both of us. If you subscribe, go watch this video. Goodbye.